this week, Amazon made two big announcements. It was basically some enhancements to its climate pledge and some announcements around upskilling. I'm going to just touch on these brief and we can just riff on them. But first of all, you've probably heard about the Amazon climate pledge. Essentially, if you haven't, it's really all about in accordance with the Paris Agreement of being carbon neutral by 2040, these companies are committing to actually beating that agreement by 10 years and being carbon neutral by 2030. Amazon has had a plethora of companies that have joined it in this agreement, but this week it had a really big piece of news as one of its biggest competitors, Microsoft, as it decided to join Amazon's climate pledge. So that was I thought a really big win and a big note that these two companies, which compete fiercely in the cloud, have decided to, you know what, we may compete fiercely in the cloud, but we are both committed to doing better for the planet and bringing carbon neutrality to our businesses in a short-circuited amount of time. Now, there's a lot of other companies, Pat, running shoes company Brooks, and I have a whole list in front of me, and I apologize that I can't remember who they all are, but let's see. This week it was Unilever, Microsoft, Coca-Cola European Partners, Atos, the big services company, Brooks, as I mentioned, and a few other companies just this week. But there were some other big ones that have also come through over the past several months. So that's the climate one. Real quickly, also, the company made some really big announcements around upskilling. And so you might have heard about the Upskilling 2025. This is something that the company's goal was to basically invest something like $700 million, upskill 100,000 employees within Amazon, and probably the only program on the planet that was more focused on its own workforce than the ones that Salesforce, Google, Microsoft have put forth that are really all about educating the world. Both important, but Amazon is a really unique use case because it has so many lower paid blue collar type jobs in the company and people that will likely be at risk of automation displacing them over time. So what the company did now was it expanded with the goal of being able to help another 29 million people around the world beyond the 100,000 in the company to build out a library of 500 courses, interactive labs, virtual day-long trainings, offering free AWS certification, which obviously becoming a cloud engineer of some type would be a good way to get things going. An AWS START program for underrepresented communities and helping people in those communities to transition into tech jobs, Pat, and then finally doing some piloting work around a whole new set of training programs. So, mouthful. Trying to do that really fast, so I left a little time for you since we are like running the 8-5 now.
No, I appreciate that. The only thing I wanted to add in there is another very impactful announcement they made was that Amazon is now the largest corporate buyer of renewable energy in a single year. They added 26 new utility scale wind and solar projects, which took them to a total of 35 in 2020 for more than 4 gigawatts of capacity. And again, I think these things make a statement. Amazon is one of the biggest companies out there, and I think it's important for them to do things like this. Because they have massive data centers, they have distribution centers, and they're on track to have 1 million employees in the United States. So all of these types of good for the environment and good for society things, I think really takes the edge off of the fact that it's a very successful and well-run business that some people seem to have an issue with a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. Well, it's one of those things, and I'll leave it on this because you made some great comments there, is when you get this big, you're always going to be ripe for scrutiny. Facebook felt the wrath this week. We didn't cover it because it's a little bit more consumer and everyday, but 48 states and the federal government all suing you at the same time. That seems like a coordinated effort to break you up. Amazon's been seeing a series of suits in the European Union and certainly is under scrutiny here. Google is also in that, and Apple in its App Store, which is absolutely, in my opinion, the ripest potential territory for some scrutiny. But they're doing a lot of things, Pat. Huge job creator amidst the whole pandemic, big investment in sustainability, a facilitator of getting goods and services to people throughout this entire pandemic. So I always say, there's nothing better than people complaining about Amazon as they order their groceries to be delivered by Amazon, only to follow up by complaining about Facebook on Facebook.